been sitting here procrastinating starting to film this for a while. One, I don't know if this is going to be too echoey, but I'm wearing a clip mic, so it might be fine. I'm not 100% sure. This is like a library room in my house that I obviously did not clean up prior, but I figured if I stay up here, this could be like the before, and then I could clean it up like future and decorate it, and it could be like an after. Could be like a cute thing to film, or it just makes me look very disorganized and messy. I'm not entirely sure, but I figured if I put off filming this video any longer than I already was, that we would never get it done. And I'm hoping that this could be a very easy edit for me, even if at all, because my hopes and dreams would be to be able to do one of these once a week to put up either as like my Monday video or just like an extra video, because with doing reading journal stickers and having a reading Instagram, I feel like I should put up some other reading content as well. But I do feel like imposter syndrome with anything and everything I do. So I feel like even with reading, I feel like I am not qualified to be talking to you about reading. Though, like, if you're here, you had some kind of interest in listening. So I hope you like this video, and I just want to let you know I'm not the most articulate of people. I feel like I do better writing than I do saying, and I'm just not like highly qualified, but I feel like that can sometimes be relatable maybe. But I went ahead and wrote notes in my strawberry shortcake little notepad because my brain is not what it used to be. First thing first, what am I currently reading? My question to you today so far is, what are you currently reading? First thing that I'm currently reading is I always have one audiobook going at a time, if not multiple. And this one here is Stephen King's 11/22/63. And I have listened to this for a while now, for hours. And this is how far I got, which is quite humbling. But I looked up, which I do often when I'm like, I don't know what audiobook to listen to. I look up best audiobook Reddit or something like that. And I wanted to read a Stephen King novel, and I looked up which one has the best audiobook, and this one and The Stand I think had the most recommendations, and this one seemed to interest me kind of the most. So I am about, I think like 10% of the way through, and I am really enjoying it. I just keep relating this. Anytime I tell somebody about it, I'm like, okay, I read a third of Crescent City and I felt like nothing happened, but I only read 10% of this and I feel like so much has happened and I'm so interested. I will say I've kind of put a little bit of a hold on this, and I won't be updating you if I do these weekly on status on this until I get back into it, because I'm kind of going through spooky season and then I'm going to go into holiday season audiobooks, and I'm currently listening to a lot of those while I work, so I'm kind of blowing through those. And yeah, I'll get back to this one, but I am very intrigued with how this is going. Basically, if you don't know, this is like has a lot of time travel elements. I don't even think there's much horror. I mean, there has been some parts that were a little like gory, like I had my jaw to the floor, like ooh, if you know, you know. But it's not as like spooky scary as I think a lot of Stephen King, like, and the assumption of his books are. This one is more like a magical realism because there is time travel, and basically there is this, I believe he's a teacher or professor or something along the lines of that, but he is kind of taking over the role of the person who's going to be doing the time traveling. So I got this at Half Price Books, and like I said, I'm only like 10% of the way, but I'm really loving it. If you read that without spoilers, tell me what your end rating of that was, because it's so good. Another one that I have been in the middle of reading for forever, but I'm finishing it this week. I read a little bit of it and I feel like I liked it so much that I was like, I kind of want to like hold on to this. I also just realized that Kikis is kind of sparkly. I don't know if you're going to be able to see it, but it looks so cute. But this is Kikis delivery service. This is the newer version from Barnes & Noble. It has like the sprayed edges, and basically this is about Kiki and her moving out, finding her magic, starting her own little business of sorts, or like helping. I have only gotten to the part where she's like going to her new village, town, city, and I've never actually watched the film, but I think that's fun to be able to read it without watching the film. So I'm gonna finish this week. Mark my dang words, because it's a really easy read. I just feel like I was like, ooh, I don't want this to end so I kind of put a little hold on it, but it's written so cute and reminds me a lot of like childhood magical books, which I'm assuming that's the vibes, you know? And then the last one that I'm currently reading, which I have on my Kindle, I should bring out my Kindle next time, Witchcraft for Wayward Girls by Grady Hendrix. My first ever Grady Hendrix. It is an ARC, so it's not out yet, but I'll put a link to all of the books I talk about down below. But I wanted to read one for the spooky season, and this one was available as an ARC, so I went ahead and started it. I think I'm about 20% of the way through, and I'm like interested, but I'm not like hooked. You know what I mean? I haven't gotten that hook where I'm like, okay, I want to like read this book. I want to finish this book. I want to know what happens. I'm kind of right now just like, it's just very like, okay, what's going on? Okay, what's going on? And basically this one is about a home for unwed pregnant girls. And basically there's this character, her name becomes Fern, but she's dropped off at this house, this home for girls. And it's just very weird. And like, I think there's some magical elements that come in, but it's just kind of like what's happening at this point. But I'm not like, again, hooked. So I'm kind of almost in the like zone of like, might DNF it. Haven't decided, and it wouldn't be a DNF because it's not good, or like I am triggered, which I feel like is normally the reason why I DNF books. It's just like, I feel like I'm like, I would rather read X, I'd rather read X, I'd rather read X. I just haven't gotten like hooked yet. So if you read this as an ARC, when did you get hooked? Because I'm like, I'm not seeing it for me currently, but it just might be that I haven't gotten like into it enough. So let me know. So that puts me at 71 out of 100 books for my Goodreads challenge. I think I'm like 2 books behind. I'll also leave my Goodreads down below. I'm pretty confident that I'm going to finish 100 books, but I was like kind of reflecting on my goal of 100. And I feel like a lot of this year, I was like, okay, I need to catch up. I need to catch up. I need to catch up. So I feel like I wasn't able to read a lot of the longer books that I wanted to read. Like I would see like a 500 to 800 plus page book, and I'd be like, well, my Goodreads, I need to get further on that. So I feel like I should maybe not read that book. So I'm thinking next year setting my goal a little bit lower. I obviously do kind of bump up my like score with reading novellas and graphic novels, which I haven't read as much as I did last year. But I feel like next year I might want to set my goal at like 50, just so that I have more of the mental ability to read longer books without feeling like I'm going to fall behind on my reading goal, if that makes sense. I don't know if that like, if I'm a quitter or what, but I'm going to do 100 this year, but I think next year I might bump it back down to 50, just so that I don't feel like as much of a race to get to the goal that I made for myself, which I could change. But I feel like now that I set it, it needs to stay there. So then let's go into some book pickups. So first things first is I do have my Aardvark book of the month, and this one is So Thirsty. I do have a code with Aardvark Book Club, and it is $4 for your first book, which is pretty cool. So it's Read Withdraw. I'll leave them linked down below. I did get one of the signed copies, which I think was only the first day, but I ordered it like the second day early, so I feel like I just got lucky. But this one is a vampire book, but I think it's supposed to be very like not super serious. But I do want to read this one before October is done, but I just love this. I also love the cover. I just think it's so pretty. And speaking of book clubs, I also do have this month's book of the month that I picked, and I did pick Sleep Tight. I will say that I did get about 10-15% of the way through this and DNF'd it because I did not look up the trigger warnings of this book, and I was very intrigued. It's basically about a serial killer. Well, he's called Father Silence. I guess, yeah, he was a serial killer, and he is basically sentenced to death. It's like years later after he was caught that the next day all heck breaks loose. And there's more murders, and then there's a kidnapping of a child, and I just don't vibe with that, because then I looked up and there's of a child, and I just can't do it. My anxiety is too high. So book of the month does list the trigger warnings. I apparently just wasn't paying attention and was just blinded by the light of the first couple of sentences of the description. So now I've learned a lesson. I am going to be giving this to my mother-in-law because her and Hannah both like kind of vibe with the same books, and Hannah already got this one in her book of the month. But I do also have a book of the month link. I was really interested in it, and once Hannah or my mother-in-law finishes it, I'm gonna have her give me the too long didn't read, because I feel like I'm fine with like hearing what happens, but like hearing it like and then having to put it down and then like simmer on it and then pick it back up, and then I was already at 9% too stressed out. So I did DNF this, but these were my 2 book club kind of pick of the month subscription type books. I do have links for both of those down below, but like can't do it. I did pick up this today at Target. I feel like I could see Hannah's eyes being like, because she was like, did you see the new special edition? Well, it's just like the sprayed edge of the new Fourth Wing softcover. And I was like, no. And then whenever I saw it in store, I was like, okay, that's beautiful. But like, do I need another Fourth Wing edition? No. But here's my thought. She was pretty inexpensive because she's from Target. So we also got 5% off. Girl math. She's basically free. And I really want to, probably not this year, maybe next year, go through my favorite books of the year for the past couple of years and annotate them. And I thought this would be the perfect copy to annotate and to keep, to have and to hold. But I really loved Fourth Wing. I cannot say, also this like graphic that they used for the gold foiling is very pixelated. It looks very low quality. I'm just going to say it. And even on these, like I feel like they could have found a better thing to mask on that. It's very bizarre. But anyways, I didn't really love Iron Flame, which is the second book. I feel like it was very like filler book. There was a lot going on in the last couple of chapters. Otherwise, not very much. Oh, it was actually 20% off. Anyways, I really loved Fourth Wing. I thought it was good. And it's also interesting that it says, sexy and sizzling, prepare to be fully spellbound by this epic fantasy. Was this one super sexy? I don't really remember that. But I honestly try and block out most smut, because I don't really like it for the most part. As I'm editing this, I remember the armoire. And I did pick up another book, Fear the Flames. I got this at Half Price Books. I was sold because look at this map. Look at this map, my friends. I have never seen such a beautiful map in my entire life. And then the back part of the cover says, I will find a way to defy death itself to keep you here. We have a deal. And then the inside, I always like reading just the top part. I'm not like a huge big fan of reading all of this because I feel like it's too spoiler for me for the most part. Unless I'm like, maybe I should read it. So this one is an exiled princess teams up with the last man she thought she could trust in the start of a dazzling and unforgivable epic fantasy romance series. We love series, we love a good map, we love fantasy, and I love an epic fantasy. I also love an enemies to lovers where there's actual stakes. I don't like this enemies to lovers and romance books where it's just a romance book. I'm like, are you really enemies? Is there any stakes to that enemies? No, you're just being drama. Also, I forgot to mention in my book of the month picks, we do have Fantasma, and I liked this one. This was my first ever dark romance fantasy type situation. And I did give this one a 4 out of 5. I will say, I remember texting Hannah and I was like, oh, she was like, what are you reading? And I was like, oh, I'm listening to Fantasma. And I was like, I don't really know what's the like dark fantasy about this. Like, I don't know what's dark about the romance. And then all of a sudden I was like, okay, that's dark. That's something. There's just like the one part with blood. And then he's like, should we stop? And she's like, no. And I'm like, oh, okay. But I was like in it to win it with this one. This one has Ophelia. Basically, her mom dies, which is very early on, so it's not a spoiler. And then there is this like games that are called Fantasma. It's like a house that's like based on the 7 layers of hell or something along the lines of that. So there is like the different levels that are like different games. There's haunts, there is like the king of the devils, and then there's phantoms, ghouls, etc. And I really liked it. I feel like some of the like trials were a little hard for me to imagine in my head, which was kind of odd because I feel like I've read so many books like that. But it was definitely dark, definitely very like, okay, that just happened. But overall, a really good one. And the twist at the end, I did not suspect. I don't know if it was one of those twists where I was too busy looking this way to really focus on what was happening this way. And then like when it happened, I was like, oh, I guess I should have been okay. But this was a really good one. This was from Book of the Month. So I did get 2 books from Book of the Month this month. So one was a banger. One was I just DNF'd because I could not handle it because I am la baby. 2 books that are on my TBR. The first one is Nightmare Before Christmas. Kissmas. And this one is, well, both of them are audiobooks, which I'm really excited about because I've been loving listening to them while I work. And this one is kind of supposed to be, I think, like more of a like romantic comedy, but it has like fantasy elements because it is about Santa's son, Nicholas, which I love any main character with Nicholas. And basically it has to take over the throne of being Santa because he's just being annoying. Basically, there's like whole thing in the description about him treating it like a PR stunt or something. I don't really know. Nicholas goes off. He makes out with this guy behind the bar. He's supposed to be marrying Iris, who I think is the Princess of Easter. The guy he made out with behind the bar is the Prince of Halloween, and I think that sounds so fun. There's enemies to lovers, but it has like a fantasy element, and it's gonna be cute, silly, spooky, fun, cute. And I'm going to be listening to that ASAP because it sounds just so fun and very like whimsical fantasy. So I'm very excited to get into that. Then we have another book that I did pre-order. I feel like this one was even further ago than the last one I spoke about. This one is The Courting of Bristol Keats, I believe. Her parents are dead. Her dad might not be dead, might have been kidnapped, so she has to go into this like other realm where there's like fae and monsters, and then there's another enemies to lovers, which apparently is my favorite trope that I cannot get away from. She has to make like a deal with this leader where the enemies to lovers goes in. She doesn't know it, but he's also looking for her dad, dead or alive. So enemies to lovers, fae, monsters. I'm here for it, and that one again is an audiobook, and I'm very excited to get into that. I think I'm gonna read that one after The Nightmare Before Christmas, but those are kind of what's on my current TBR. And last but certainly not least, I'm gonna get into just a little reading journal update because look how fat she's getting. I love her. I think she's beautiful, and I'm so excited. So I have not done anything with September. I haven't set up anything. This is my last spread. This is August. I still need to finish her up. My favorite book of August was First Time Caller by B.K. Borison. So good. So stinking good. I have to see like what editions come out, but I'm definitely buying that. It was probably one of my favorite romances this year. We have my reading challenges. Oh, I forgot to mention, I did read Carmilla because I needed a classic horror novel, and I just wanted something that I could put on and listen to, if I'm being honest with you, that wasn't super long. The audiobook was like 2.5 hours long. It is from like the 1800s, and it is one of the first like written things about vampires. So it wasn't like it changed my life. I was like interested, and then I was like, oh, okay, that's it. Okay. She's here. I think I rated it like a 2.5 out of 5. It was very like, okay, but like interesting. The audiobook, I listened, there's a bazillion different ones. I listened to the Amazon audiobook where they have like, it's like Amazon Studios or something. There was like multiple voice actors. It was like their version of like graphic audios. I also forgot, along with Carmilla, that I did read the last one at the wedding, and it was fine. I thought it was going to be like really, really, really good because I did give Hidden Pictures a 4 out of 5, which I feel like for a thriller for me is quite good. But I don't know what I was expecting, but it was not that. And I also feel like it went on a little bit longer than I thought it needed it to. Also, it was just kind of like no twist really was like, oh, dang, oh my gosh. So yeah, I'm like happy that I read it, but I don't think I would recommend it. But if he comes out with something else, I probably will read it. But basically it is about Frank and his daughter Maggie. She's marrying somebody, he's never met them. And then there's a wedding, and things just kind of don't happen the way that we think that they're gonna happen. And it kind of seems a little sus. So Frank's a little sus, and he's like looking into it, finds out things are crazy. So there's that. But yeah, I was just expecting it to get crazier than it did, and it just seemed pretty mild and kind of predictable. So that's my thoughts on that. But I only have one book left on my Halloween challenge, and then I'm gonna go over into my autumn, which I do have two already done, which is the Set During Autumn and then featuring magic or witches. The last one that I have for my Halloween one is one with night in the title, which I am going to read this one here, which is Sweet Nightmare by Tracy Wolff. And I picked this up a bazillion times. I picked it up at Book People in Austin, and then I was like, I don't know, the reviews are like okay-ish, and I was like, she's kind of long to be like okay-ish, but then I saw her at Half Price Books for $20 hairs, and I think there might have been a sale then, I'm not sure. The Scariest School on Earth is about to experience real fear. Most schools are about being the best, the school's about being the worst, where all the rogue paranormals go, but she's there because her mom runs the academy, which is like painted a target on her back. There's like a freak storm, stuck without a backup plan, power's gone, lights are out, and her worst nightmares are suddenly real and out for blood. I don't know, it just like sounded really interesting. It sounded a little YA, I think. I'm not 100% sure, but I'm very excited to read it because I think it's a standalone, but it says don't fall asleep, so I was just like, you know what, I don't take many chances, but this one I'm going to take a chance on because it sounds very interesting. It sounds like it's going to be suspenseful, and I really liked the cover in the red against the like dark navy blue. That, my friends, is everything. So here's some questions. 1, what's on your TBR? 2, did you read any of those books? Do we agree? Do we disagree? 3, what about this background? Should I fix her up, or should I just move back into my office? Should I move back into my bedroom in front of my TBR bookshelf? Let me know, please. Do you actually want to see these? Was this fun? Was this not fun? Let me know. I need you to roast me and leave me all of your criticism. Do we like the plant here? I stole it from Theo's room. I'm not sure how he's going to feel about that, but I also don't know if this did anything for me. I think I might need some lights. I don't know, but I could talk forever if we really just let me. We will, and I will. That's everything. Love you. Talk to you later. Bye.